Hello everybody, this is Steph with Stampin' and Scrappin' with Steph, and I'm so excited to be recording a video for you today. It's been quite a while since I've had an opportunity to sit down and do some craft, being creative, and really just kind of focusing back on why I love, being a part of Stampin' Up! So today, I wanted to share with you a really fun project that I was working on, and at the same time talk to you a little bit about our mini catalog that is coming out. So if you are one of my customers or are in need of a demonstrator, I would love to give you one of these catalogs. So if you are part of my customer base, you should have already or will already be receiving one in the mail. This normally was supposed to launch in July, but there was some delays going on, so the mini catalog actually will be starting in August. But one of the fun perks of being a demonstrator is I get to preview the mini catalog and celebration catalogs in advance, and then we're also able to pre-order some of the new product. So today I am going to share with you a project that I made from a new line, or a new suite I should say, I think it's called Gingerbread and Peppermint. So I can't show you the inside of the catalog, but it is on page 9. Yes, it's called the Gingerbread and Peppermint Suite. It's a really adorable holiday set. It comes with the Frosted Gingerbread bundle, which is this super cute stamp set here, and matching dies. And I apologize, I didn't take out the other dies, but there is another set of dies called the Pretty Pillow Box dies. If you purchase the entire suite, you also get the Gingerbread and Peppermint Memories and More card pack, which at the time of purchase, there was a delay on those, so I didn't get those, including the envelopes as well. Then there's a fun Real Red mini ruffled ribbon, some mats, acrylic shapes, some craft paper pack. So the masks are actually called Adorning Design masks, which I really haven't really dabbled into masks, so it wasn't something that I chose to purchase. And then the fun Gingerbread and Peppermint paper pack, which is actually a 6x6 paper pack, and I've already dived into this pack so you can see the little bits that I've already cut out. But you have these fun gingerbread cookie patterns, and this star you could actually cut out using the die. Let me slide that out. So in the dies you have the solid background piece, which when you cut it out would look like this. And then you have the detailed die, which I'm just going to show you the bell. And you would stick that on top of the background, or you could use it, solely by itself. But these shapes fit around the designer series paper, and you could cut it out. So there's a couple more patterns that you're able to do. There's a snowflake one, and the bell as well. So you can, let me just kind of flip a little bit. So obviously all of our DSP is double-sided, and it's just a fun pack. These Christmas trees or little Christmas cookies are super adorable. There's not a die that will cut this out, but it'd be really easy to just do a quick fussy cut on those. And you can see you get quite a bit of the same pattern. Some of mine may not be in here quite in order, but this is the snowflake and the bell one I was telling you about. And again, you just use that background die to cut it out. And you can see Here's another one. Here's the bell or the ornament. And a couple more snowflakes. So I really love that a lot of the designer series papers that Stampin' Up! Has been coming out with, especially in suites that have paper, you kind of get more because you're able to use your dies to cut those out. The colors that are featured within this suite are Real Red, Old Olive, Early Espresso, and Cinnamon Cider. But as you know, Stampin' Up! Is all about coordination, so certainly other colors will go with this. It's all about your preference, what you like to do. And then we have a new celebration going on that will start August 3rd, and there's really, you can see the cover, some fun stamp sets and some fun paper in there that you can get for free with a purchase. So minimum purchase is $50, and that $50 can be any catalog, and then you get to choose one of the items for free. And I don't know if we have, oh, and we also have I call it the level 2 earnings. So if you place a $100 order, you can get 2 items from the celebration catalog for free, or you can go to the level 2 and you would get one of those items. I can't show you at the moment. I don't have them in hand, but there is a Summer Shadows die set you can get, which actually coordinates with a stamp set that is featured in our annual catalog on page 75 called Shaded Summer. You could choose the Delicate Dahlias stamp set for free if you spend $100. And there's also host a little party, get some of your friends who love to papercraft to place some orders, and not only will you get host rewards, but you will earn some free celebration stuff as well. All right, so let's get into our projects, or project I should say. I'm gonna set this aside. All right, so this is a triangle flap pocket card. And the reason I created this card is I belong to a blog hop from Stampin' Friends, and this month's hop was basically kind of rewind and redo, and that means take one of our older favorite projects and make it current, more relative to what's going on in the Stampin' Up! World or paper crafting world today. So this was one of my all-time favorite projects, and I can't believe I don't have the original project on hand, but I made one very similar using Candy Cane Christmas designer series paper and the cookie cutter Christmas stamp set that had like a little gingerbread kind of figures, and you used a punch to punch them out. It was one of my go-to sets for the longest time. It was just a lot of fun to create with that. So I decided that because this was one of those cards that I loved making, and it didn't have to just be for the holiday, and it kind of is one of those cards that, you know, when people look at it, they're like, oh, wow, you made that? That's really cool. But it's just fun, and it actually comes together rather quickly. And if you were to mail this, as I know, because of the size of the card, you wouldn't stick it in a traditional envelope. I mean, you could, but the fun of it would be you would use one of our clear envelopes. It will fit right in. Oops. Seal it, and it can go through the mail just like that. Obviously, address it. I use an address label on the outside with a stamp, and you just drop it at the post office because they can't meter it. But it's just a fun little treat for somebody to get in the mail, all nice and clear. All right, so let's get on this. This card is really simple to make once you see how it's done. Set this aside. All right, so today you're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 11. You will also need a piece that measures 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. A piece of designer series paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. And so this is old olive cardstock. This one measures 4 by 5 1/4 as well. And then a piece of whisper white, and this is 5, I think it's 5 by 3 1/4. So just simple layering on this one, just go 1/4 of an inch shorter on all sides. And then we need our new fun ribbon. And you're going to want some scrap paper to create the pattern die cuts in the front. And I just use coordinating colors, so that's the cinnamon cider, real red, and old olive within the cardstock. So for this project, I used this particular pattern, which on one side, it reminds me of the little Starlight candies. And then the reverse side is, I guess it would be like an icing, since we're dealing with gingerbread. For this card, I decided to use this pattern, and the reverse side is like the icing swirls. One thing to keep in mind when you are choosing a pattern that has a direction, when you go to decorate, you'll want to make sure that you have a side that is right side up. But when you cut it, it should just fall together, no problem. All right. So for the piece of paper that is 4 1/4 by 11, you're going to score it in half at 5 1/2, just like you would a normal top fold card. And then for the 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 sheet, we need to score that just on one side at 3 1/4. Just like that. Okay. Now, to make the triangle, what you want to do is take, and it is hard to see, so I'll fold this. So here's my fold. I want to line up this corner of my score line in the groove where you're going to cut on the paper trimmer. Okay. And I'm not sure if I can get the whole trimmer in, so let me turn it. So I want to line up that corner there, and then I'm going to take the point on the edge of the paper, and sometimes they shift a little bit, but you want to have those two edges as close to that cutting track as possible. All right, actually move my blade and then cut. Okay, and now you've got a little triangle piece, and here is one of your triangle flaps. All right, we're going to do the same thing using that 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece. And you want to go from, again, that score line here to the bottom point. And you just want to make sure it lines up as best as possible. I like to take my score line from the top. Oop, hopefully my head didn't just pop in there. From the top, because sometimes when you have a point and you go up, it can catch that edge and kind of bunch it together. So I feel like it goes a little bit smoother if I go from a more solid edge. And you go down. Okay. And then there's another triangle. So when you do end up with a little bit of scraps, you can use these for any bits that you might be cutting out later. You could also use these on another project. I used it to cut my star out, as well as this little background circle piece. Okay, so now you have this triangle piece, which is going to wrap around on the right side, and that creates your second flap. So essentially you have an envelope without the top. You could certainly recreate a card style using your envelope punch board. Very simple to do. So here is just a quick, so this was from an envelope punch board. I just trimmed the top off because we don't need it, but you would fold, you know, your card in. It's kind of, it's a little bit different look because this is set up to create an envelope, but you could certainly decorate the outside and, you know, make it more of a traditional envelope look. Whatever works for you guys. All right, and so now we have our designer series paper, and we're going to, so this is the 4 by 5 1/4, and if you go point to point into that cutting track, ooh, I keep moving it. Now this is point to point, so, and it's a thinner paper, so what I'm gonna do is start in the middle, go up, and go down. And so now you have these 2 points cut exactly the same. And these will be where you decorate your card or your triangles. So I wasn't really worried about the swirls being sideways here. I actually like them kind of like that, and then you just choose which one you want to display a little bit more. And that just depends on how you seal the card. All right, so let's put this one together. All right. So you have this 3/4 inch section here. This is where you want to add your adhesive. Now, tear and tape would work well, and the Sail Plus, Stampin' Sail Plus would be great as well. I'm just going to use some Tombow liquid glue. You want to line up your edge of one piece to the score line, and then I like to fold it over and make sure it sticks. All right. To decorate, I'm just going to use my normal Stampin' Sail adhesive. You use whatever you prefer. And just add some adhesive so I know this one is going on this side. And the polka dot one will go on this side. Now you could decorate this back piece if you wanted to hide, you know, that there is a seam there. I don't much mind at all. I think because I'm mailing it, it gives a nice solid background if I stuck it in the mail. All right, so I think I want more of this side to show. So now I am going to use liquid glue across the bottom edges. You don't want a lot. The tear and tape would work well because it's a thinner kind of piece, but you want to make sure you put just enough because you remember you've got a little card that slides in and out. And if you go too thick, the card will stick out too much at the top. So I'm going to press this one down. Okay, and then this one. And give it a second to dry, so I'll set it aside. We'll move on to this layer here. So this is the, what was that one? 5 1/4 by 4 as well. And the Whisper White is 5 by 3 3/4. Okay. You might want to stamp first before you adhere together in case you make any mistakes. But I am going to use Old Olive ink. I'm going to use the greeting wishing you a Merry Christmas. And I'm just going to stamp it right here in the bottom right. All right, set that there. Then I'm going to use this little peppermint candy. I am going to stamp that in real red. And I'm going to use a scrap bit of paper here. And I'm going to stamp in that corner. Now you would cut this out using one of the dies, which I used this one right here, and run it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And then I cut out the red piece, or the red circle, which is this one right here. And that will give you the little piece to kind of pull your card in and out. All right. I didn't use many dimensionals or layering with this card just because just the way it folds and stuff, I didn't want it to be too thick going through the mail. The next thing that you want to do is cut out your cookies. So we have the ornament, the bell, and the star. And then you're going to cut out a layer, the detailed layer for each one. So I've already done the ornament and the star, but I wanted to show you just assembly. I mean, it's pretty basic with anything that gets layered together. Use a silicone mat. It makes, so sorry, my cat just jumped in my lap and now I have kitty hair everywhere. So I prefer using the fine tip glue pen from Stampin' Up, and you use whatever, your adhesive choice is. I've yet to try our adhesive sheets. It is on my list. You would add the adhesive to the sheet back of your cardstock before cutting out your image, and then you don't have to worry about trying to get all the glue in each little bit and getting it all over the place. One thing to keep in mind with these fine tip glue pens is make sure you get that little pin right in there. Oops, kind of went out of focus there. And close it right away. It tends to dry out in that little stem, and it's a pain, a really big pain to clean it out. I've actually had to buy new tips because it didn't go in the right way. All right, so you just stick that together and set that aside. All right, rolling right along. So now we have our little card base here already put together. We have our inside layer. So I'm going to slide it in. Okay. I'm going to add adhesive on my little dot. You don't need the whole thing. It is going to stick up a little bit. So kind of, 3/4 of the way and then down. And then I like to put it in the card because this point to me is like center. And then I just stick it on. And you stick it up just enough so there is a little bit of a grab. Not too high up if you're going to put it in another envelope. If you're going to just hand it to somebody, with a gift or as is, you don't have to worry too much about how high up you go with that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add the ribbon. Super simple. I just wrapped it around. And if you are doing a wrap, you don't necessarily need to seal your edges. You could leave it and they can unfold it like a little reveal, but I wanted it to be like a pocket versus a fun fold. And I'm gonna just tie a little bow. I won't fussy too much about it, but you want to go somewhat tight. You could add some glue dots if it's not cooperating with you and staying in place. So, okay. So now I'm going to add my cookies. And I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back side of these. I'm going to start with the star. And I'll add the bell or ornament. I keep calling it a bell. It's an ornament. And I am going to pop up the bell. And I'm going to stick that one kind of right there. All right. So there you have it, a triangle flap pocket card. Be sure to check out my blog post. I will have that link in below, and you can get written directions on how I put this together. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.